Hello, World Civ 106. Welcome to week 5. And now I appreciate many of you really talking about how overwhelming so much information was this last week. I think you'll find this week a little easier. Hinduism takes on a lot, as you saw, in terms of trying to understand what's going on and the relationship of Buddhism to Hinduism. And especially if you've never had any exposure to this information, it's a little overwhelming. What I want to remind you is that this is a survey course and that you're getting exposed to things for the first time, and it's natural that you're not going to get it all at once, but at least now you're getting familiar with these things. I mean, you're hearing new terms, and when you hear them again later on, it's going to make more sense to you, right? So part of the confusion was I talked about Buddhism coming out of Hinduism, but also Buddhism and Jainism really helping create Hinduism as something that morphed from Vedic religion. That is, I think in the future I'm going to kind of maybe talk about something else a little bit, just because that is a very complex set of understanding the way that various trends of spirituality within a certain set of cultural traditions kind of push each other and help form and create them into their own unique thing. The best thing I want you to try to realize with that is think about how we talked about how there was ancient Israel, and ancient Israel was focused on the temple. But the temple gets destroyed, and the people who worship the god of that temple, the ancient Israelite religion, has to morph into something else. If before temples with animal sacrifice can no longer be performed, and the teachings of the rabbis end up taking prominence, and we see that evolve into its own thing. We also saw that there was these messianic movements that would come out of the Jewish religion, and later we're going to learn about how Christianity, like Buddhism coming out of Hinduism, when we get to Christianity, we will see how that does the same thing. We will talk more on that later, of course. The other thing that I want to talk about, which you're going to see here, is something that I explored more when I was living in Southeast Asia. So I was a lot in Thailand last year and this year. I spent 2 months in Siem Reap, Cambodia. And I also spent some time in the Philippines, but mainly Thailand and then Cambodia, and then about almost 3 months in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong I wouldn't count as Southeast Asia, but there are very similar ideas of fusing Buddhism and other things together. And Taoism was also, there was Taoist temples when I was in Hong Kong. But let me just return to this one topic. Buddhists don't believe in a personal God. And the term God and gods in Asian religion can be a little confusing, and I think due to translations from those languages into English, it can be a little misleading. This is the okay when a Buddhist, when you see a big temple with a big Buddha or a small Buddha, and you're watching the Buddhist bow before this big idol, is what a Christian would call it, an idol, or a Muslim would call it an idol. The assumption is that they are worshiping Buddha as a god. But that's not how most of the Buddhists in the world view it. I would argue that they are seeing Buddha as the master teacher, and that they are giving reverence to him because they feel like he tapped into the ultimate reality of the universe. And that ultimate reality some would call God, but they don't really call it that. Right? So Buddha was able to break from the cycle of reincarnation, which it seems to me that as I talk to many Buddhists and the way that they view it within Asia, is that Buddhism is just about tapping into the science of ultimate reality. In other words, they're not debating about who created the concept of karma, as if there's a personal God directing, who gets a better next life or attains sainthood or not. And that's a whole other complicated topic, like what's that even mean, sainthood, or something like that. But that there are, just as if we know that there's a law of gravity. You get up onto a building and you jump and you know that you can't defy the law of gravity. There are metaphysical laws in the universe in which if you do certain things, you are going to pay some time for it in your life now or the life to come, or you're going to be blessed and you're going to get good luck or blessings from it. And ultimately, a lot of times it turns into these ideas about how one can get blessings or good luck. I asked someone I knew who was Buddhist, who was bowing, and I said, what do you think is happening when you bow before the Buddha statue? Like, do you think Buddha is watching you, or the Buddha cares? And they were shocked because I don't even think they thought about it. The idea was basically is that you do this thing, it's respectful, and it gives you blessings, and that you respect the Buddha. And that there is something that Buddha, somehow revering Buddha does put you into that zone, that cosmic zone of blessings, okay? I mean, look, I went to go pick up someone, their kid that was going to a school in Thailand. And all the students had to go around and bless and bow before a statue of the founder of the school, some rich Thai woman that was the founder of the school. It's the same concept, and I think that that's really how to conceptualize it. And I have a video on a Chinese deity called General Guang. That's one of the ways he's called. It's very popular in Asia, but man, Hong Kong, all over the place, especially. He was a real person, and he ends up being called a god. Some could look at him as a saint, but for a Christian, for a Jewish person or a Muslim, the way they're looking at these topics and how they're viewing these things is really hard to wrap our minds around. Because in Christianity, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there's simply an all-knowing, almighty God who's watching over everything, and then sending prophets to send the messages so that people can know the mind or the thoughts of the all-knowing, all-watching Creator. This is not what's going on in much of these other religions in Asia. Hinduism is a little more complicated with their various sets of gods. Vishnu. It's not super clear if Vishnu is always watching. There's more personality, I would say, into having a personal god within Hinduism. But I think that there's so many variables with Hinduism, as we learned, that it's not easy to make a blanket statement about that. So that's something that I wanted you to try to understand. It's not an easy one. I have a video I'm posting with this announcement on the tattoos from Thailand. And here's the other thing I wanted to say as well. At some point, if I could ever cram this into my videos, I would. It's not really covered the way I would like in these modules. Now that I did stay in Asia, I realized that a major influence is what we'd call animism. And that's the belief of spirits that are spirits of the earth, of the lake, of the trees, spirits of dead people. And it appears that these ideas were long before Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam and Hinduism came into influence this part of the world. And the resilience of animism to stay within, let's say, Thailand, for example. That's where I know the most. I'll walk down the street and see a chopped off pig's head with Fanta soda on the side. That's left out for the spirits. Okay? And in fact, Thailand is the 4th largest consumer, I believe, of strawberry Fanta soda. And it's almost all exclusively left out for the spirits. And in particular, one called the Kumintang, or the Golden Boy. This little spirit boy, which is a whole nother long discussion. These things are not a part of original Buddhism. The Sakya, the documentary I'm showing you with the spirit tattoos, in which people get certain powers from tattoos that are very popular with people like Angela Jolie. A lot of people get them coming into Thailand. But these are mixed with Buddhism, but the origins of this go before Buddhism. And in that case, actually, even originally in Cambodia, I believe. So we're dealing with layers and layers of things. I know this is confusing, but I just wanted to just mention this. Think about how Christmas is supposed to be for the birth of Jesus. And you have elves and a tree and gifts. Think about Easter, even more so. Bunny rabbit and eggs. What's the bunny rabbit and eggs have to do with Jesus Christ? Well, those were symbols of fertility, and this came in the spring. When you celebrate traditional Christmas or Easter, you're also seeing, and some Protestant Christians, which is a whole other topic as well, have criticized this. This is why groups like Jehovah's Witnesses don't practice many holidays, because they're so anti-pagan. They don't want any of the old world things mixed with Christianity. But when you're having an Easter egg hunt, you are doing a lot like what people are doing in Thailand. You're participating in things that have origins that are part of layers of culture that are not fully eradicated. Those are pagan, pre-Christian practices put into a modern way, mixed with Christianity. And this is what you see happen in Buddhism a lot. And so that's something that and you see that actually in Asia a whole lot. And it was interesting to me, even going when I was in Hong Kong, which is a very modernized city, there are these high-rises with holes in the middle, like they're constructed, and then they have these open empty spaces in the middle. They look very strange, but they're by these mountains, and this is like a feng shui concept. They are actually called dragon holes, and there believes that these spirit dragons need space to be able to go through, and this prevents some sort of bad negative energy going through the buildings. So that's kind of thing that are believed in Hong Kong. Where does that come from? Confucianism and Buddhism, or maybe Taoism? No. See, these are all these other folk religious concepts of spirits and animism together. You go in Hong Kong, you see rice and water being left out all in front of businesses and shops and incense, just like you see in Cambodia and Thailand. That's for the spirits. Okay, so again, these are our concepts that are not really a part of any of the religions that dominate. But yet they are. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. I'm heading off to work. Tomorrow I'll be grading from home mainly. And I'm more than happy to elaborate on any questions that you have and try to help clarify any confusion. And maybe I made some things more confusing, so forgive me about that. I hope you're having a great week. We'll be in touch.